Hey, 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 welcome back to the Do Good Legacy Podcast. I am with a sales expert today. I'm very excited to talk to her, and I'm very excited for you guys to listen because I have been watching Meghan Lamle for a very long time, and I've just admired her energy, her hustle, how much she's grown her business, where she started, where she came from, because we have to talk about credibility here. We can't just be like, we know our shit without actually knowing our shit. And my due diligence on following her, and I'm very excited to have her on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Meghan Lamle. Hi.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. I feel like we have been wanting to do this and like get on a call and touch base and connect because I feel like there's so much synergy. There's so many connections here. And I've just really, I've been watching you since 2000. No, I've been watching you since 2020. And I know you started in 2019. I think that is how I found you, through Carrie.
It might have been. I mean, Carrie Brady is the woman who kind of opened up the door for me of like sales. Like I remember Madison Tinder. I joined Madison Tinder's Soulful Social. Madison Tinder. The Madison Tinder. And Carrie was her coach, and Carrie came in and taught about sales. And I had known about sales in the world that I had been in, but I didn't know about online sales. And then I see like Carrie, who I think we're the same age, or she's a little bit younger than me. And this was like right before she had done that like $750,000 and got like the Forbes article and like Madison scaling to her first 6 figures. And I was just like, holy cow, like, what am I doing? Like, where is this?
Oh my God. You were like, I am having like such epiphany moments right now. Like, talk about back in the day. So I just finished my event, my in-person event 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And on that stage, I had Meghan Lamle, which she was also on the podcast. You guys have heard her here. It's like one of my most listened to podcasts. Megan's amazing. And her and I laugh about this all the time, like back in the day. Cause like Meghan and I have been around since 2018 and like we've seen it change so much. So you're talking about Madison. I'm just like, oh my God. Everybody. I love it. Okay. So before we dive into the industry where it is, I want to go heavy on sales here because obviously I teach my clients sales. I love sales. I literally say this, like, you're an entrepreneur, you're in sales. You're not in sales. If you don't like sales, then you're not a very good entrepreneur. You have an expensive hobby. Because you really you should sell. There's nothing wrong with selling, which I'm sure you will share your wisdom on all of this. But I want to talk about how it all started for you. Where did it all start? Where did you come from? You came from mom and dad.
Literally. Let me set the scene for you.
Yes, please.
I'm a freshman in college. I am in my second hometown, Vail, Colorado, the Vail Valley. Went to high school up there, ended up doing a year at community college. One of the best things I ever did. I am an entrepreneur who, yes, I did graduate and I loved it. And I walk into this interview at this t-shirt shop because the gym I had been working at had cut my hours because the homeowners got mad because me and this other guy had found out that the board members were bringing in their non-wives on the family membership. Ooh. All of a sudden my hours get cut. It was very scandalous. And I am like 18 at the time. I have no sales experience. I am also 45 minutes late because my boyfriend at the time had gotten stabbed with a beer bottle and I was taking care of him pre-nursing, thought I was going to be a nurse and not a nurse. I walk in and I say, I want to work here, even though I'm late. I've never sold a thing in my life. I have worked front desk at a massage place, at this gym. I've washed dishes. I've delivered newspapers. I've done so many things but sales. And they were like, okay, cool. What ends up happening is that season, we keep like the majority of our staff. I end up moving away. I moved down to Colorado Springs, work a minimum wage job, just got my associates, thought I was going to get like a better job. Do not end up working at the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, which was amazing. Like, I love chocolate. Chocolate's so easy to sell though. I go back and I'm like, hey, I want to go back. I want to pursue my bachelor's. Actually in business because I had taken a business course. And what ends up happening is I get hours because I have availability because I was only working like another part-time job and it had set hours because I went back to my first job I ever worked in high school. Our staff leaves and it is me and the manager just working hours and hours and hours and hours. And I'm working alongside him because I'm opening, he's closing, or he's opening, I'm closing, and we're working these hours together. So we're seeing, we could have 200 people in a store from 3 to 4 o'clock when the lifts are closing. And, they're here on business trying to pick out a t-shirt for their wife or its family. And on top of that, because, I don't want to make it easy for myself, The average t-shirt in Vail is probably $5, $10, $15. This was also 12 years ago. I decided to work at Crazy Shirts. Our shirts start at $27.
Oh, wow. Okay. Why are they crazy shirts? Are they like they're like different like styles? Like what is it about this
So
t-shirt?
Crazy Shirts is like a t-shirt company that was based out of Hawaii. And when I was there, we also had just gotten bought and they had reopened the Vail store, which is this whole thing. What they're known for is like the designs. They have really good designs. They do all original artwork, but these shirts like last forever. You spend $27. I still have t-shirts that I used to wear to work that like crazy shirts that like I still wear. They still look good. They're all over Hawaii. They're like in most major cities. I mean, I learned so much product there about like combed cotton versus not. Yep. And like the biggest thing about sales, knowing what I know now, because I was using all these mechanics of sales before I like learned what it was. I was telling stories. I was learning product knowledge and communicating the value. I was uncovering information. Because fun fact, every husband that goes on a work vacation thinks their wife is a size small. And it's the sweetest thing ever. You think she's tiny, the sweetest thing ever. She's cute, but I'm getting these calls from wives. Like I had to start a return process because these husbands would come home with a small, and me at 5'6", maybe 120, maybe 130 pounds. I was a small. Yeah. Mm-hmm. These are women who have had children. These are women who have different body types. And so even learning how to like ask their husbands, like, hey, I know you think your wife's a size small. Like, how does she compare to me? Yeah. Like, this is the size I wear. So I had to stop doing this like weird return process that we had. Yeah. And this is before COVID. This is before really like they didn't have an online store. They were still doing mainly catalogs. And so I started there and I really loved it till I didn't. Ski season is really hard. Giving up your life from Thanksgiving to Easter every year. You don't get to go home for Christmas. You work on Christmas. You work multiple jobs. I just don't love skiing like most people do in that town. I'm just from Colorado. I don't love skiing. I end up moving home, work some more retail. I work for Francesca's. I help them open an outlet. I learn about, I learn about their sales process. And then I go to a massage chain and I start selling massage memberships. Okay. I did really well after I kind of figured it out and I was getting really good at it. And then they sent me to another location. And this location didn't sell. And I'm now the new manager who's also coming in to take them to corporate standard because this is a location that like when we would do regional meetings, I would make fun of them. Like it was literally my karmic destiny. And so they sent me to this location to teach these people how to sell and how to really get it. And that's where I really loved sales. But again, I hated the hours I was working. Talked about this like quite a few times. I was missing everybody's birthday. I was always at work. I remember I was car shopping one time and got called in because they wanted me to come handle this situation and the manager couldn't. Yeah. And so I ended up getting fired and like, I'm getting fired from my quote unquote big girl job after I graduate. Yeah. I learned about the online space. I get in and my clients are starting to make like ridiculous money. They're like starting to book out. I'm starting to book out. Like Madison kind of gave me the gap between like marketing and sales. And it was 2 weeks before the pandemic. I had just gone out to Vegas. I had saw the Social Bungalow. She had just done her first meetup.
Love Shannon.
This was 2020. This was before, actually, fun fact, her first meetup is now the location of the coffee shop. That upstairs place where the offices are, that's where the meetup was.
I was going to say, I don't think she had the coffee shop yet.
No, she didn't because that was like Ryan's dream. Because like I stayed with them in Vegas and I'm like forever grateful and it made me pay for a hotel room because I was not making the money for that. But what ends up happening is like we're driving to dinner and I did not want to compete with Madison and Shannon. They were growing really fast and I was in the marketing realm and I was just like, you know, like I dropped out of nursing, pre-nursing because I didn't want to compete. And I'm like, I think I want to go sales. And I will never forget Ryan turning around. This was like right after they got engaged, turning around and being like, you should just do it. Like, don't talk about it, be about it. And that was the thing where it was like the only other person I knew who I would like be competing with was Carrie. And like, it wasn't like, oh my God, I could like definitely compete with Carrie. It was like, oh, like there's this opening in the space that I know Carrie's going to serve in this capacity. And then I'm going to serve in this capacity. And it's going to be completely different. And then I come home from Vegas and we go into global shutdown. And everybody's learning how to make bread, fluffy coffees, walks.
Bread, by the way.
I read The Psychology of Sales by Brian Tracy.
Such a great book. Yeah.
And I was like, I have an econ background. And I just start like devouring it. And then I'd like take this course from Carrie and I'm like, Carrie, what books? are you reading? What courses are you taking? Like, this is cool that you're teaching me this, but I want to know it from like the horse's mouth. And yeah, then that fall I launched the buyer psych course. I had to explain what buyer psychology was for years. Now that it's like catching on, I'm like, listen here. I'm like, listen. And it's, I mean, a couple of years later, I learned trend forecasting, and people are always like, how does that relate? And I was like, trend forecasting is directly related to buyer psychology. And yeah, that was, I mean, shit, that was 6 years ago. Buyer psych turned 6, like it turned 6 last month. We've rebuilt it, and like it's always changing because like consumer behavior is changing, but
yeah, the industry's changing.
Every industry changes though. Like think about cars, think about houses, think about like the car industry, which we can like kind of segue right into this. The car industry mimics the online sales space so heavily. People just don't think about it because a lot of people don't go from car sales to online business. They kind of stay there. Like if you can sell cars, it's a sweet gig if you can.
Yeah. It's so interesting where this is like the segue of the conversation. I love it because I have literally talked about this so much that everyone makes this big deal of like, oh my God, the industry has changed. And like, yes, we've laughed about it. I mean, I also have been like, oh my God, the industry has changed. Of course it's fucking changed. And it's going to continue to change, right? Like it's just the life cycle of the business industry, just like it is with the cars, just like it is with, I'm trying to think, AI, like it's going to anything, absolutely anything. The real estate industry itself has changed the way people buy, the way people experience it. Like it's become a show. Shows like Owning Manhattan.
Owning Manhattan too.
Owning Manhattan, all of them have changed and set the bar of like what the expectation is, right? And it's the same thing with the online space. And I would love to know from you, based on where you started and where you are, what do you see as like the biggest, oh shit, and where do you see us going, especially in 2026?
I never want people to feel like consumer change is like an oh shit. And I think that's the hardest thing that I have with the online space is because it's this like negative connotation that like the industry has changed. But like I want to give you a different perspective.
Yeah.
It is so much easier to sell when people come to the table and they have so much more information than they have had before. And they can clearly communicate because you're not having to pull things out of thin air. And it is so much easier to sell when we have regulations and guidelines.
Yeah.
Just like the car industry, you know, we have lemon laws, just like we have in real estate that you have to disclose things. And so while everybody's like, oh shit, the consumers have changed, instead of thinking like this is such a terrible thing, I want you to think about like your people are coming to you more informed than they ever have been. Your people are coming to you with specific ideas and things. I was thinking about this too when I was driving home the other day. Ken Delaney, love her. She's a close friend. I always think about how Kenda was right after me in a program and she did $1 million in 12 months and I did 100K in 8 months. And 100K in 8 months back in 2020, unheard of. $1 million in 12 months, unheard of in 2021. That is the kind of like thing we're seeing, you know, it's kind of like, I'll wrap this together perfectly, but it's kind of like the 6 minute mile. One person broke the 6 minute mile. More people did that. The consumers are coming more informed ever. So you don't have to explain what is coaching. You don't have to explain what is a VA. You don't have to explain why they need this. Instead, you have to come as the salesperson with all of this knowledge about what you can do and how you can help people and all of your expertise and all of your opinions, and you have to customize it to them. And the same way a car salesman, when I just bought my Jeep 4 or 5 years ago, I came in and I said, this is the Jeep I wanted. This was the Jeep that I had. This is what I'm trading in. This is what we did. What can you do for me? That is a different sale than me coming in and being like, I want an SUV that's good in the snow. Yeah. You are still going to have people, though, who come in and say, I want to have an SUV that's good in the snow, that's going to get good mileage, you know, when gas prices go up and down. But you're also going to have people who come in and who are very clear and specific. Your job as the salesperson, though, is not to be like, F this sucks, people are changing, complaining about your customers online. Listen, I love to complain. There are people who are situational complainers. There is me. Yeah. I will complain about anything. Not my finest quality, I'll say that. But on the other end of that, it is to come in and say, okay, my people are smart. I am not going to assume that they're so smart that they will reach out. I'm going to assume that my people either know kind of what they want, they know what they want, or they really know what they want. How do I meet them? And that's where sales skills is less about, okay, I say this script, which scripts teach skills. I will never bash a script. Everybody who's like, scripts are terrible. You have to learn a flow. You have to learn a process. It is just like math. You have to learn the way to do it. But
Yeah.
sales is really about questions. It is, and online sales too, like I want to segue a little bit, like online sales is still so far ahead traditional sales. It is
100%.
so much further. Like there are guys I know who come into town who are literally like cold calling, walking place to place, meeting people. Like the fact that you can market online, you can see metrics, and then understand those conversations is miles beyond what people know. But I think there's a mindset that has to change, because a lot of people are like, it was easier in 2021. Yeah, it was. There was a boom. It was exciting. It was new. It was not the risk adverse. Like 2021, the risk wasn't there because it wasn't money they were taking out of their pocket.
Yeah.
But if you're good at sales, you're good at communicating value. And true salespeople is not about close rate. It's actually about, can you communicate and your customer have enough information to say, yes, this is for me, or no, this is not for me, and I need to go find what is for me.
I love that. I love it a lot. You're touching a lot on what I talk about in signature offers, right? So the biggest thing I promote is like one product, one funnel, but nailing your signature offer, because when you nail your signature offer, then you can obviously talk about the framework. You get very clear on how you sell it. And when you understand, and it's so funny you talk about sales script, because I remember when I first started the industry, and I've always been kind of good at sales. I worked in retail. I worked in anthropology. I left my paycheck there. I never made any money.
I never made any money at Francesca's. Like, but my wardrobe.
Yes. Yes. Like I looked fabulous. And I walk into Anthro now and I'm like, I know everything that happens, right? And just like, I love it. I know when the sales are. I remember all the things. But I say all that to say that I've always loved sales. My parents are entrepreneurs. Like I always grew up with sales. Sales for me is like second nature. And when you're doing high ticket sales, it's a different psychology and it's a different conversation. I remember getting to a point in the business where I realized, okay, I'm good, but I could be better. And you could always be better with anything. And I think the day that you think to yourself, oh, I'm the best and I don't need to learn anymore, you've already lost. And so
you lost that moment you thought that thought.
Exactly. And so I remember thinking to a point where I was like, okay, I've now scaled the business to X and I want to serve more clients. I need to do better sales because I'm getting on 10 sales calls a month and I'm only closing 2 or 3. Let's increase that close rate, right? And I remember like, okay, I need to create a script. This is my script. Refining it. I mean, to the point that like, obviously I don't use a script anymore because I know it to the back of my head, but I give that script to my clients and I literally tell them like, this is a skeleton of how you should psychologically present the call so that when you pitch the offer, they are prepared. You're not just like, how's your day? Oh, it's amazing. Okay, here's the offer, right? Like you have to be able to articulate what you are selling. So my question to you is, what is that framework that you teach your clients? Is there a way that you're like, how do I get my clients to remember that?
It's actually really easy, and I teach it kind of the same way you do. I give them a script, but then I also give them a framework. So sales not being as much about what you say, like, does throw people through a loop because, like, you have to also remember that, like, sales psychology is still relatively new. And, like, these people who are doing multiple millions in B2B sales are not thinking about sales psychology. I can promise you that. I've sat at dinners with them.
Yeah.
I always say, like, you have to warm up with rapport, but rapport is not, how's the weather? How's your day? What's been going on? Oh my God, we had daylight savings. How's everybody feeling? Rapport is also uncovering motivation. And motivation, are they going to make this decision? Are they not? Are there other decision makers? And so that's where, when we're thinking about rapport, I learned the acronym FORD, this brilliant sales. I don't know if he's still in the game. He used to be at Guide Culture, which is now the Sales Girls, but his name was Lloyd Day. Took some sales training from him. That man, brilliant insurance sales. But it's FORD. It's family, occupation, recreation, and drive. Obviously, occupation is going to be our businesses, so you're going to talk about that later. If you are in the business of serving other people, you also don't need to know all these things about their family and their dog and their, like, that is stuff that will come later. This is probably going to be a spicy opinion for some people. I think we need to remove some of the relationship piece out of business. Like, get back to some professional standards. You don't have to look professional, but you have to act professional. So coming in, kind of talking about their business, I always have them go through problem, agitation, solution, offer, passo. This is like time and time again. This is tested. This was built by the madmen. So you also want, this is something that a lot of people don't like to do, but you want to have an application that mirrors it, and then you want them to go through the same process. So if you have the application, you're obviously going to say on your application, you admitted this problem. Can you tell me more about it? People are like, I don't want to do that. They already filled out the application. They filled out that application how long ago?
Yeah.
We want that problem to be present in their mind, because the brain also will focus on negative stimuli more than positive stimuli. What if other things have changed since they filled out that application and you booked the call? This is what else can you tell me about that is also the principle of self-disclosure. They want to feel good during a sale. They get a dopamine hit when they talk about themselves. That's why people love guest podcasting so much. Like right now, dopamine, like feed it up.
But that's a good podcast, right? Like I don't know how many podcasts you've done, a lot of podcasts, and I have a handful of bad podcasts that I've been on where the host did not ask me questions about me. It was all about the host, and I was like,
"You're like,
podcast, you heard me, sir,
like,
ma'am."
So, problem. What is the problem they're experiencing?
Yeah.
Why do they think they're experiencing this? Is this a perceived problem? With sales, a lot of times it's audience visibility, offer. Yeah. It's not. You probably don't sell enough. You probably don't talk about your offer enough. You probably don't know how to sell.
Yeah.
Agitation. Agitation is not bad. Agitation, when done incorrectly, is bad, because agitation actually leads to a motivation for change. And this is where people get hung up on it, because it's not you suck, your business suck, you're fat, unhappy, ugly. It's nothing about the person. It's about the process. Why do you think this problem's happened? What have you tried? You know, you can even start leading into solution. Why is now the time to change things?
Yep.
What are things that you thought about it? You really want to get them to a place where they're like, when they're getting on a call with you, it is also a place where they have exhausted the majority of their options. And this is why they have decided they are no longer going to do it themselves, because psychology states that we think we are more capable, and that with time we become prettier, smarter, faster, whatever you want to attach. Unless something changes, it's not going to change. So that's where we go into solution. And here's where most entrepreneurs fuck the pitch. They try to do solution and offer in one.
Okay, tell us more. Wait, before you do that though, it's funny because when you were talking about agitation, the biggest pushback I get from my clients is I feel like I need to convince them. And it's like, no ma'am, there is no convincing. The point of a fucking sales call, okay, is to get them to feel their emotions in the most simplest form on that sales call, to open up to you. I think my best sales call are when, and whoever's listening to this and has been the person on the other end, is when they cried. Because I got them to see that they have tried and exhausted every single avenue, and now they're at their wit's end. So it's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to shit on the pot? Or are you going to
get off of it? And I think like is crying on a call though, because a lot of people could be like, that's like, in the industry we exist in right now, they could be like, that's manipulation, that's mimicking, you know, when you go to church camp and they have the worship night at the end. It's actually not. When you cry, you are actually doing a nervous system reset. And when you have a problem, you are going to run that problem, that neurological loop, over and over and over. And 100%. When people are unaware of their problem, you would have to feel like you're convincing them. But 80% of your decisions are built in your subconscious. By the time you're getting on a call, most of the time, you are saying, is this going to work for me? And is this the person for me?
100%. Yep.
And
those are the two questions that you have to answer.
Literally.
That they have to answer. Yeah.
And it's not like, why do you think you should work with me? I love that question on an application. I hate it on a call. It's good on an application, not good on a call. The thing that people also need to think about with agitation is that like humans are naturally going to be at a status quo.
Tell me more. What do you mean?
People like us do things like this. That is the only thing you have to remember in life. People like us do things like this. Can either serve you or hurt you. You want to make more money, you get in a room. People like us who make more money. I remember the first time I watched Topsy Vandenbosch make $40,000 in a month. And I was like, what in the fuck? I just hit like 12K. And then 3 months later, I did like $22,000, because our brains will take the collection of the people around us and decide what is the baseline.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to drop a nugget here, because I think my biggest, and you'll appreciate this, Meg. I'm loving this, by the way. I'm taking so many notes. I feel like I'm getting,
you're like, this is my masterclass on sales. Like,
more. Yes. So I went to an event months ago. And I connected with a man at this event, and we were talking about sales. And I said to him, you know, I was talking about like my biggest cash month, which was like 50,000. He was like, oh, that's amazing, whatever. And he's like, super cool, super chill. And then all of a sudden he starts talking about how in 4 days, he made $350,000. And I remember like sitting there, and he's like talking to me, and I'm like, My brain exploded in my head. And I was like, in 4 days. And then I looked at it, I was like, so how much was the offer? And he was like, it was like $7,000. And I was like, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
how many? He's like, oh, I did not sleep because my closer was such a piece of shit. And he's like, so I ended up taking all the sales calls. And I was like, and he's like, and I closed about 50% of them. And I was like, so you got, I mean, I can't do the math right now, but I was like, so basically you got on like 50 sales calls. I was like, I think it's like 20 sales calls. And I'm like, and you close, and I was like, the fuck? And he made 350 in 4 days. And I remember sitting there and being like, oh, like my brain literally blew up. And I was like, that's the kind of energy, like, I
So he
want to
had
make.
to take 100 sales calls in 4 days to have 50
Yeah.
clients at 7,000 if he's averaging that. So he was taking, and if we're doing like, you know, what's the duration of these calls? Because
Sales
if
calls.
it's an hour, you're literally
Yeah.
working 24 hours. I'm guessing he's doing it between a 15 and 20-minute call.
Yeah.
So
It was like a yes, no, bam, bam, bam. It
yeah,
was like very bro-y, right? But I was just, my mind, when I tell you that in my brain, my literally was like,
yeah,
holy
he's
shit.
spending 7 hours just on calls.
Yeah. I literally was like, yeah,
At
but on
15 minutes though.
And wait. And then it gets even better though. So then I was like, so basically I literally said to him, so you didn't have a life for 4 days. And he's like, well, I mean, I was rich. And
I was rich. Brother.
he's like, I had a lot of money after. And he's like, so, and I was like, yeah, no, fair enough. I'd rather do the same thing. I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, my brain blew up because in that moment, I was like, wow, be in more rooms. And it's true. Anytime I've ever been in a room with a millionaire, a multimillionaire, whatever, they're making $1 million. I remember when I was having conversations, I was making $1 million a month. I literally was like, how on a program? And I was like, I couldn't even finish my sentences. I was like, and like that just, yeah, that blows your mind. So I forgot the point of all of this. My ADD stepped in. But
it does and it doesn't. See, the thing is like mere exposure. So the first time you get exposed to any new stimuli, mere exposure works with likeness and familiarity. So anytime you get new stimuli is scary, right? Because it has to be. Because we have to make a decision then and there, is this safe? Like your brain has never evolved to the world we live in. Your brain's still hanging out in the cave poking sticks.
Yep.
But the more you're exposed to it, also the more you're going to like build that belief. But that also comes to your subconscious. Do you feel worthy? Are you willing to work through all the crap that comes with it, all the little comments around money, those types of things? I just remember having these conversations. Like I have met some of the best people in the online space. Like I drove up to Boulder one time because Rachel Bell was hosting this like impromptu, like in-person meetup. And I was driving out there because like I was like everybody else. She had closed down her company. She had walked away. I was hiring some of her people because I was running done for you sales. And I just remember like being like, this person didn't make money because like she works hard, like not negating working hard. It was the mindset that she had. It was the mindset that literally anything was possible for her, that like all she has to do is like put time and effort into things and they multiply. And the more rooms I sat in, the more people, because that's the other thing I think people forget is that like we are so close to people who make so much money and who do incredible things. And some people you'll be like, hey, can I buy you lunch? Can I buy you a cup of coffee? And they'll be like, no, I don't have time for that. There are other people who, Kenda's an example of it. I was going to be in Junction. I thought she lived in Junction at the time. She didn't. She ended up moving. I was, I think like maybe 45 minutes away from her. And I was like, hey, I'm here. I'm actually here with my mom and my nephew, but like, I would love to buy you lunch and just get to know you. Like, there's obviously always a knowledge share there and it's like very reciprocal. But I just remember A, she didn't let me pay for lunch. But B, I remember like getting my card out and kind of being like, no. But B, just sitting there and like talking to these people and realizing that like there's so many things that you're not that far away from. And a lot of times it comes down to the value you can communicate. Also, situational standards. I don't think the online space talks a lot about like, you know, some people have seasons that are hard in life and some people don't. But understanding that like you are a salesperson, you are a business, and how do you run this business at baseline? And then as you continue to grow. But I mean, the other thing I'll tie in with my ADHD brain is I will never forget when I did my first like over $100,000 launch and we did like $48,000 in a day. And I was just like, I just remember sitting there looking at my computer, like I just like closed like someone's salary in like a day.
A day.
Or like, when I made like, I got like a 10K paid in full, and I was like, I just like made someone's like monthly salary in a day.
Yeah.
And
We forget. We forget. And also it's because we've gotten so used to it. And that's a privilege.
it is a privilege to run a company and to have the space, and just like, I think about this a lot more just with everything going on in my life, and like having to like have like personal things come up but still maintain a job and not have to go on like FMLA or do all these other things, that like, it is a privilege, and it is a wasted privilege when you don't show up and do the work you're supposed to. And that is the hardest conversation you'll have with yourself. And I've had to have that lately of like, what can I show up and do, and how can I show up? And like, it's gonna feel harder some days, just like sales, it's always gonna feel harder.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day too, like, I truly can't imagine doing something else. And that's where things will change in business. Change is the constant in life, but also like, it's also exciting when things change, because you know, do you remember back in 2019 when we used to run our cycles? We would nurture for 6 weeks and then sell for a week. We would nurture for 6 weeks and then sell. Now we sell every single day. Like, change is inevitable, but it's also like your mindset around change that could change things.
Yeah. Ugh, I love that. I want to not forget, I made a note here. I want to not forget that we go back to like the solution and the pitch and where people fuck it up. But I really appreciate how you brought up like your own, like lives. Something I preach about on this podcast, and we hear it all the time, is like, at the end of the day, you chose to be an entrepreneur. Like you said, you can go, you can walk away from this to tomorrow, today, you can go get a 9 to 5, and that's a choice that you've decided to make. And with being an entrepreneur, when you decide, okay, I am now going to do this, it comes with the seasons. And I think that the problem with the online space, or like, not the problem, but the struggle that we forget as watchers or consumers, is that you're always watching in someone's best season.
Mm-hmm.
You're never watching someone's low season. And you will find people, I would think myself included, where I do share the behind the scenes, like, fuck, shit, life is really hard right now. I really need to stop cursing. I'm sorry, whoever's listening.
I curse too. I'll be like, oh, like my friend's 4-year-old will be like, you can't say that. And I'm on FaceTime and I'm like, listen here.
Yes. And so like, I think we forget. And because we've been in it for so long, we don't even realize subconsciously how much information we're collecting. Mm-hmm. So I can personally attest that, like, I mean, I've been doing this for almost 8 years now. Like, I've been doing it 10 in total, 8 years in the coaching space. And as someone who thought that she was extremely confident, there was a huge lack of insecurity in myself. And I didn't even see that. And the only reason I was able to take a step back was when I had the low seasons, when I was having the interruptions of my life and journey and the whole process, where I was like asking myself the big questions: what is the point? What am I doing? This isn't just the make the money, have the 10, the 20, the $100,000 launch. Yeah, I've had those. Those are great. And it's, how do I make this sustainable so that this business lasts for the rest of my life? And I think the biggest thing that we're forgetting in this industry, what people are actually missing, is the skill set to run a business. The skills to know about marketing, the skills to learn about sales, right? The skills to understand leadership and what that looks like, management skills. Like, I can't tell you how many companies I've seen fail because they don't know how to manage a team, right? There's no structure to how you
I didn't know how to manage a team, and I came from management.
Yep. So I just commend you and appreciate you saying that, like, even, you know, in the last couple of months, you just had a season where you've had to take of like, okay, what can I do? How can I bring my business back to baseline? Mm-hmm. And I think that when you realize that you have a baseline, like if your baseline is multiple 6 figures, you've done your job, right? Yeah. Like, if you know it runs smoothly and you can still take a day off and you're still going to make money, and you've gotten to that point where you're not like, you know, scrambling for your next
money today.
Yes, exactly. Then you've done a good job.
I also think though that those are good seasons to be into, when you need to make money that day and learn it. Something fun, not to cut you off, but something fun that I did the other day, because I've been in a reflection period, because like we've also shared that we both have lost siblings, and I lost my older brother in October. You know, it's that yearly pause where you're like, okay, where was I when I lost them? Where am I now? But the other day on my whiteboard, I made a little timeline, and I actually did it like vertically so the months could line up. And I just took sticky notes, and I was like, okay, August 2019, I made my first investment. Here's where I made my first 10K month. Here's where I did it. And I started lining up all this stuff, and like, it helped me see the patterns in my business. You know, I like a slow summer. I don't like a very busy summer. I like to travel. I like to hit Q4 hard. Q3 can sometimes be a struggle.
Yeah.
But like I was sitting in this chair looking at it because like I also got this office in 2020 because my dad was like, you're home all day every day. Like you don't leave your bedroom. And I'm like, I work from my bedroom.
Yeah.
But I think too, a lot of people forget like there is so much that has happened to get you here. Even, in the first like 3 years of your business, so much changes. And that's where it's also like, these pandemic businesses are turning 5 and people are making decisions whether or not to stay. But people have come in later. Your business is turning 2, 3 years old. And like those first 3 years, 3 and 5, they're the hardest. But after that, like it's really, and sometimes, situations that felt like I launched during the week of COVID when everybody's shutting down. I thought my world was ending. Little did I know that I would try to do a full launch during the presidential election of 2020. Shit could never be harder than that moment.
Oh God, girl. I was going to say, I thought you were going to tell us like, little did you know you were going to be wiping down your groceries.
Little did you know you're going to be masking up. Like, no, little did you know that like,
yep.
But that's the thing too, when you have those reflection moments too,
yeah,
business doesn't feel as hard because again, like I love sales psychology and like neuro stuff because it also helps you have your brain on board with you. Because then when you sit there and you plot out everything else, you're like, oh, like I've had these really high highs and I've had these really low lows, but I've also had times where it's just been like kind of chill and kind of like,
thank God,
like just hanging out, But circling back to solution.
Okay, yeah, you do that. And then, damn it, I have so many questions. Wait, what's your birthday, Megan?
Oh, I'm a Gemini. I'm May 31st.
What, do you know your big 3?
Gemini, Aquarius, Cancer. Cancer moon, Aquarius rising, Gemini.
You're a Cancer. I'm a Cancer rising. You're a Cancer moon.
I'm a moody bitch.
Yeah, I was going to say, you cry too, a lot.
I cry all the time. I cry at puppies, babies. I get mad and I cry. Like, I remember there was a post I did, and I think that's why I was thinking about this the other day too, because I have also grown up. Like, I met with someone who's known me since the beginning, and she's like, I can't believe you're 30. And I was like, I know. I'm like, I'm so old. I'm like, you saw me at 24, like, hood rat now, like, just
I'm an old lady.
I am so distinguished and poised.
I'm 36. I'm gonna be 34 next year. Okay, 30 you're a baby.
Oh, I love being 30 though. It's so great.
It's the best. 30s are the best. Don't let anybody tell you any different.
Oh, 30s are amazing. But I remember like part of the reason why I grew so fast and why sometimes I feel disconnected from my business is I've always had a brand voice of I'm going to bring people with me. And I remember this post where it's like, there's no crying in baseball, but there is crying in entrepreneurship. And I just had like, I do take photos of myself when I cry because I want to talk about it later that I was crying, like, because there are these hard moments. And I just felt like, I was doing these big things and people were talking about these big things, but it was also like, there's these other things going on and you can, it's, we talk about duality now. It's the duality of both. But that's where I always remember where I'm like, there's no crying in baseball, but there is in entrepreneurship. I don't cry as much anymore though. I still cry, but not as much as I did in my 20s.
Yeah, I was going to say, I definitely cried a lot in my 20s. I cry all the time. Yeah, I feel like anybody that listens to me would be like, I cry all the time. I cry when I'm happy too. Like at this point.
I do too. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm angry. I cry when I'm frustrated.
Yeah, it's like an instant reflect. Like, can we talk about your brother?
Yeah, let's talk about Benj.
Yeah. What's his name?
His name is Benjamin, but we called him Benj. He was never Ben.
Benj. I love it. How old was he, and when did he pass away? And
he was 26, and I was 21, and he passed away in 2016. So it was 9 years this year, which feels. I saw something recently that like I always thought the first 2 years was early grief. Your first 5 years are early grief, and like the first 5 years are rough. They are rough. And if you also go through unintentional sequential loss, like I lost my brother in 2016 and then I lost my granddad in 2018, and when we go through a global pandemic, you can create compound grief. And that's where like I remember when I started therapy in 2021, I just like sat down and like bawled to my therapist. I was like, I'm grieving, like my engagement broke off, like what am I doing? I'm turning 26, like
my world's ending.
My poor therapist. that man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I bring this up because obviously I can relate on so many levels. My brother was Louis. He died 2019.
Okay.
He was a month away from being 20, so he was 19. We just celebrated, I know we just celebrated 15. And you're right, the first 5 years are the worst. And
They're
10,
horrible.
9, 10, 10, 10 is a lot too.
Yeah.
I remember early, like literally early, I would say like 3, 5 years in, where I really struggled. We were Irish twins, we were super close, where I
Oh, that's
really struggled.
hard.
And I remember people telling us, like telling me and my sister, we used to hate it so much, like time heals. I used to be like, yeah,
You're
and
like, fuck that.
yeah. And the thing is, I think you just learn to live with it. But I want to talk about this because you lost him at 21.
Mhm.
And have you ever read the book, The Defining Decade?
I did. I loved that book. I actually gifted my copy to like a girl I knew who was like, she was lost in her 20s. I read Defining Decade at 25. So I was a little in my defining decade.
Yeah, I read it at 26, and I remember being like, oh, makes so much sense why I was the way I was and who I was. Because here I am at 21, lost my best friend, my brother,
Yep.
had to watch my family grieve through that entire process. And I was the kind of person that always performed. Like I was
Me
okay every
too.
and then behind the scenes, I was a hot mess and like hot mess express. And it took me a long time to grieve his loss to get to a point that I could even say it.
Hmm.
Uh, I say this with a grain of salt, and I also say this with like, it built me. And I think
It
you can
did.
really,
I think like I never want someone to go through sibling loss because it's such a unique experience. You told me one time you belong to a club you don't want to belong to, and that is how you describe it.
yeah.
Um, it's it's heart wrenching, and I think for me it changed my perspective because like you lose a sibling and then you're like, okay, like life is long and short. And like as business owners too, it's like these things can feel so big and then they can feel so small. And for me, like I remember I didn't want to be the girl with the dead brother. I
Mm.
told my coach that. I didn't want to talk about my brother, even though he was in my Y because I was working so much. Like, I was like you. I went back to work 2 weeks after I lost my brother. Like,
School.
crying in the file room, senior year of college, going out, not coping with it. And I am on the other end where I do believe that time heals.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe though that like going through heavy grief teaches you about capacity in a way that like there is no book.
No.
Like you learn capacity in hard seasons. You know, I see it with my clients who become mothers and they're trying to balance this business and this baby. And I see it when one of my clients became a full-time caregiver to their grandma and you're balancing doing it. I'm in a season where I'm like a full-time caregiver and I'm working full-time and I still have a social life and I'm not giving up my hobbies. And that's the thing though too, where it's like, I think people forget to think about those hard times because it's like, you know, sometimes things feel really hard in business.
Yeah.
And then my family, we have a kind of a dark sense of humor though sometimes. Like we're very emotional. Like on a Cancer moon, you just saw me cry. But then other times I'm like, you know, this shit's hard. But it's not harder than losing a sibling.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not harder than like
Yeah.
something's like you're like that's hard, but like imagine like how much harder. Like last year when we suddenly lost my stepdad, I'm like, you know, I remember when I was backpacking through Europe, I'm in the Copenhagen airport. My feet have never hurt this bad. I'm in a foreign country that doesn't speak English. They speak
Mhm.
good English, but they don't speak like English. Like we are not in America.
Yeah.
My feet are swollen. I don't know where the ibuprofen is. And I just remember like being like, this is hard. Like this is really hard. And I'm in the airport. Like I could,
Mhm.
you know, I have money in my account. I could cancel everything. I could fly home. I'm only
Mhm.
like 2 weeks into this trip that I've decided to take solo, to backpack through
Yay!
Europe.
Yes.
And I'm
That
like,
that trip made you, and I know you know this. I don't need
oh,
to tell you.
nothing will be harder than the Copenhagen airport. You know what I
Yeah,
did?
but that trip changed your life because
Oh,
it
literally.
added more to who you are and your resistance and your capacity to hold space, to know that when shit gets hard. And like, I mean, what was going on at the Copenhagen airport? Why were you in
My
pain?
feet hurt. I had to carry this backpack. You know what I did? I sat there with my backpack, my like 25-pound backpack.
Yeah.
After I had gained like 30 pounds, like I'm a backpack through. I didn't even prepare to backpack through Europe. I just decided I was going to do it. I was like, cool. You know what I did? I limped myself over to the 7-Eleven. I bought 2 teriyaki chicken skewers because in Copenhagen, 7-Eleven is bomb.
Yep, they are.
I ate both of those. I walked to the pharmacy, the big green cross. I looked at them and I said, how much ibuprofen can I buy? They go, ibuprofen? And I go, yeah, ibuprofen. They give me 1 pack of 1,000 milligrams. And I get migraines. So that's like, that's like child's play. The pharmacist watched me down this. I set a timer for 20 minutes. I say, you got 20 minutes, girly pop? And then you're going to go find your gate and you're going to fly to Berlin. You're going to go to Germany. And that's the thing, though, that I think with my brother, though, is that, like, I did not have, like, tying it all back in, I did not have the space. And, like, I did get to grieve a lot in Europe. You know, I took a 19-hour bus ride across Germany. That's a lot of time to think about yourself when you're by yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think, though, that, like, it also is, it's interesting because you've gone through it. And then when somebody else has to go through it, like losing my stepdad, you know, I had somebody else who had lost their dad and I like leaned on them in the grief process. And I just had a friend, I've actually had a couple of friends who lost their dads recently. And it's hard to like show up and be like, hey, we're now in the club that like this is a horrible reason to be tied to each other. Yeah. But I think that's also the thing that it's like, you get to go through it and people feel so much better too. And for me, like coming out of grief and then having these friends starting to do it and getting older where my friends are starting to lose grandparents and they're starting to lose parents and it's really hard. It's also like, hey, like I didn't have somebody like this when I lost my brother. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of floating out there. But like now when someone goes through that too, it's like, hey, like I'm here, even if I don't really know them, where it is something that built me because I did have to go to work. I still went to work. And my brother died in October. It was very selfish of him to die in October. We had Thanksgiving. We had Christmas. His birthday's in February. So like his birthday's February 10th.
Oh, so he's an Aquarius.
He's an Aquarius, yeah. And then even more selfishly, he shared it with my granddad who ends up dying. So then I'm like going through this grief and then like their birthdays pop up and I'm just like, this is horrible. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing too that I remember, like, I remember sitting in this office. It did not look like this. I just had my little quarter desk from my bedroom downstairs, typing on my iMac that I had bought, talking about my brother on email and starting to build that connection and starting to talk to people about it. And it was, oh man, email, that is safe. If there are things I talk about in life, and you ever want the like, too long didn't read about my life, I will probably send an email. And I think that's too where I also like fell in love with like the softer side of sales, weirdly, to tie it back, because like there is the masculine, the questions, the get you done, close the sale, but there is like a very empathetic piece that I also think the industry has lost. Yeah, in a game of datas and numbers and science and sales psychology, there is also just like
the human piece.
There's a human piece, and like if you were in sales, you would want to come to the same side of the table with them. And that's where, tying it perfectly back to solution, can you talk about your offer without talking about your offer and what solution you're providing them?
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. There you go. She tied. Did you see how she did that?
Oh, I can do.
This is how it's done.
Can you provide them a solution that they're desiring?
Yeah.
Think about solutions too, is that your people will tell you what they want. Are you listening to them?
That's a big thing.
It's not, I want to make more money. You know, I think about every once in a while, I'll like sit in my office, like, you know, the old 30-year-old I am, and I'll sit in my office and I'll think about all these clients I've served, or I'll like look at them on social media and I just like think about it. And I'm like, there's clients who have come in where it's me and the husband and them only know about a pregnancy and they have to make more money because they want to be home with the baby. Some of these babies now are like 7 years old too, though. And I'm like, what is this? Yep. There are people who come in because, you know, they want their husbands to leave their jobs or those types of things. People will tell you why they want what they want. It's not your job to determine whether or not it's right. Your job is to determine, can you help them? Can you communicate that? And if you can't, can you also tell them that you can't help them?
I love this. And I love you even more. Thank you for your vulnerability.
Thank you. That's the thing where, like, I think, like, one of the biggest mistakes I've made in business, because I don't shy away from talking about it, is, like, not telling people no, being like,
Yeah.
hey, I can't help you with that. Like I can sometimes it's, I could do that, but like, how much is it going to cost? Because there is also the question of like, how bad do you want it?
Yeah. I think when you're in early stage, if you're listening to this, I think early stages of entrepreneurship, like everyone makes them. I've made those mistakes. Yeah, for sure. Especially early stages, right? Where you were like, I want it. I need it. I know I could do it. Like, I'll take it. And then it's always like bit me in the ass. As someone who's been doing it for a long time, it's all right. It's okay. I'd rather not. I'd rather my peace and knowing that the right client is in that room, I can get them the results better, faster, and I'm okay with that. If it's a no, it's a no, you know. But that takes time. That takes time, and I think the same thing with what we've been through is just life in general. Like you are wiser. Like your 30-year-old self is 100% wiser. You have more patience. You have a higher standard of what your expectation is for the person in your life, the people in your life is what I want to say, who you surround yourself with, and the kind of life you want to live. Like, I don't know about you, but like chaos and drama doesn't really serve me. Not something that I don't care about, right? But I do care about having a small group of rich relationships, right? People that I trust, people that I can call, people that I can break bread with. And that goes the same thing with business, right? It's like, what do you want to build? And what does that standard look like? And how does it blend in your life? People talk about work-life balance. It's bullshit. When you become an entrepreneur,
doesn't exist. It never existed. There's no balance.
Yeah.
It's one life.
You give and take, right? Like it is what it is. There are seasons where you're going to have to stay up till 11 o'clock at night to 1 o'clock in the morning doing what you need to do because you need to do it. Doesn't matter. I've spoken to business owners who make millions and they've had seasons where they've had to like do the thing. And again, it's the cross you bear when you choose to go down this path.
I think on the other side too is like there are seasons and then there are seasons that you richly reap it. Like the fact that like I still talk about like I went to Europe for 7 weeks and everybody's like, how'd you pay for it? And I was like, dude, I worked the whole time. Yeah. Like I worked. Like I didn't. And that's the thing too, that like the seasons and also just there is no work-life balance. What you want in business too will drastically change.
Oh yeah. When you change, because you change, you're going to, especially as women, right? Like I want to be a mom. I want to get married. That's my business is going to have to change. Like I don't have a choice, right? Like it's going to have to happen. I do say that I was stalking your Instagram and I know your next bucket list location is Asia.
We can't say the A word yet, but yes, okay. Backpacking through Asia.
Okay, so been there, done that. So when you're ready, let me know. I'll give you recommendations. And I want to say, if you think 7-Eleven is bomb in Copenhagen, wait till you get to Thailand.
I heard Japan, Thailand. Asia is the final. I always wanted to travel though. That was the thing. And that like, I think there is a part of business that we are now seeing with a lot of people who have been in business for 5-6 years where it's almost full circle. You know, in 2020, I remember it was so funny. I flew out to Dallas, saw Madison for this retreat, watched Madison ball out. She's putting her card down on these meals. And I'm just like, damn, son. This was after she bought like her Gucci belt in Vegas. Never forget.
Remember when it was like a staple to wear to buy the Gucci belt? Like,
I talked Kelsey Douglas of Douglas Marketing into buying a Gucci belt, and then Topsy Vandenbosch. Like, I did not have money to buy Gucci. We're in the Gucci store, and I'm getting everybody to buy like. I think Topsy bought like a Gucci bag. Like that was probably one of the coolest experiences of my life. But coming back full circle, like being able to travel and those types of things, your business is going to change. And like for a lot of my clients too, what I've noticed with like the new consumers, the new clients is that they want something that's going to perform year after year. And it's not massive growth. Like it's not 2020 growth. It is
it's long-term
stable,
growth.
consistent. It is. But that also, the growth people want like this is not the same as like being able to maintain something and doing it really well is actually a better set of skills.
100%. And that's where
a lot of times when you grow like this, you're spending a lot more money to get here.
Oh, 100%. I talk about this on this podcast in 23. Well, end of 22, beginning of 23, I made a lot of money. I did really well, but I went this and I went, and then I was like, oh my God, I grew way too fast without the proper infrastructure. And so at the end of 23, I had to restructure. I had to look at everything and I had to be like, okay, I am spreading myself so thin. This is why I go back to what's the signature offer? What am I known for? And what's the kind of life that I want to create for myself? Because that will then create the business, right? I'm not trying to have a million offers. I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? Also, another thing too, is that I love connecting with my audience. Like, I love being in containers with my audience. I love talking to my audience. There are some people who don't. And are like, I actually like digital products. I like low ticket digital. I'm like, amazing. The fact that you know that is so good.
Even better.
Right? Ride it. Keep going. Go in that direction. And when you're ready, you do the high ticket sales. You do the high ticket offers. What a good segue. We've been doing this for an hour.
Oh, I learned how to talk in 8 months. I've never shut up.
I was like, girl, I feel like we keep going.
I can talk for days. Tying it up to your offer. If you do one thing on a sales call, just one thing, only one thing, just shut up after you tell the price.
Yes. I tell my girls to have a bottle of water and say the price and then.
And I do not care where people are coming from I have seen the rise of I like to call them the sorority girly pop salespeople.
Yeah. Like the Shelby Saps.
I went on a rabbit hole the other day about that. I can send you.
I like Shelby. She's awesome. I've met her in person. She's actually the real deal. She's a sweetheart.
I think that Shelby is really smart. I think though, and this is something I would tell Shelby, I think Shelby is creating jobs that do not meet the demand of the industry. I do not think that there is enough high ticket sales remote positions. And what I would love to see out of her is to just teach sales and not have to focus on high ticket sales remotes, because she's like these influencers and coaches who want sales teams. A lot of people are scaling back their sales teams unless they're doing multiple millions a month. Yeah, for sure. But just teaching general sales, I also think that she brings a lot of knowledge to the table. 100%. And sometimes I feel like, but she's young. I love her. She's young. She's perky. She's not you have that kind of energy there. But she's not someone who says not to do a pregnant pause after you say price. There are a couple of people I've watched their stuff and I'm like, this is absolutely wrong. The reason why actually presenting a really good offer is presenting, hey, this is what my offer includes. This is, and when I say includes, this is what you're getting. This is why, this is why I think this is a good option for you. I actually want to say, this is why I think this is a good option for you. This is why this is the option for you. And ask them, does that sound like what they need? Obviously, we're going to talk about pricing. These are my 2 hot opinions. I don't offer a paid in full every single time first right out of the bat. I like reoccurring income. I think it's great. I don't actually offer a firm. If you do, that's for you. I don't use third-party financing. I've had to eat it on some contracts. It's okay. We also have cancellation clauses. The other part is just pause after it, because what the brain is doing is saying, okay, can I do this? Yes or no? Does this feel like a good decision? Yes or no? But when you just railroad them, they can't make a decision. They get overwhelmed. They shut down.
So you drop the price, sometimes pay in full, sometimes pay in a plan, and then you stop talking.
Literally how I structure it is, so I do a 6-month mastermind. That's my signature offer right now. So right now it is $7,000 paid in full, or you can pay $1,250. Which option works better for you?
I love that. And you just stop talking. Look at it. She said that so naturally too. It was as a matter of fact.
That's it. Which option works better for you? Yep. Where can I send the invoice? What's the start date you want? That's where we could get into closing. You don't really need to know. People offers and closes are the same. You don't really need to know more than a weighing close and an assumptive close. The other closes that I know, because I know a lot of different little funky little all the little industry secrets. It's just show pony tricks. They're just show pony tricks. You don't need to learn beyond the basics of that. But if you want to do show pony tricks, sometimes it is fun. To be able to pull them out, but on an average sales call, you don't need them. And that's where I don't teach my clients more than 2 closes. An assumptive close, assume that they're buying. So which option works better for you? It's actually an assumptive weighing close when I say, here's the option. Just a pure assumptive close would be okay, it's going to be $1,250 today. What's the best email to send that invoice to? Yeah. You don't get them to buy on the call. I get them to buy on the call.
Okay, cool. And then what's the other one that you do?
A weighing close would be 2 options. So
got it.
Paid in full payment plan. But just an assumptive close is you're not giving them options. You just give them the payment plan. I get people to buy on the call. And you want to know why? Because it's fun. It's exciting.
Oh, it's so fun.
Celebrating with them. If they're not ready to buy on a call, though, I'm not going to sit there and objection handle forever. I am going to handle objections because I'm a salesperson at my core. But that's why I think a lot of people also don't They don't handle objections because they're afraid. This is the thing I will also say is that in 2026 and 2027, sales calls will be more prevalent than DM sales.
Yes, 1,000%. I
People
don't
are
agree.
tired of the DMs.
So what I teach in my containers is it's DMs is a good way to get them into and then get them on the sales call, but I don't promote like you're a fucking business owner. I'm sorry. Like you should learn how to do sales. You should get to know your clients.
You need to do a sales call unless you've done $500,000. I mean, I've done probably $700,000 cash.
I've done $500,000. I've done more than $500,000, and I've done my sales call. I've hired closers, but nobody can do it like I do it. That's a whole limiting belief. But I also love meeting my clients. Like I love getting on the call. And that's another thing too, is that you get on the call and people are like, oh my God, it's you. And it's like,
because in an industry, normally it's not. And that's where I think like DM sales, like I have a whole course. I have built a whole DM framework. I could do DMs all day long, but I think you also, that's the thing about sales too. You have to meet the consumer where they're at. And like, it's so much faster for me to get on a call and close it and make like, it's a communion. It is a breaking of the bread. You come together and you say, sometimes I tell people, I'm like, hey, like I can't help you or like can't do it in this timeline, but here's somebody I could. And then we both have a decision then and there, and then they move on. And that's the best part about sales.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. We end this podcast with the very important question of how do you plan to impact the world? So what is the mission and the vision of where you want to take your business? I know that's a very loaded question.
It's like a very interesting season because if you would have asked me in 2020, I would have been like, I'm going to make $1 million and it's going to be great. And if you would have asked me in 2021, I would have been like, oh, I just want to be happy. I think for me, I've thought about this a lot. And the cool thing about money and just local community is that like the money that I make can impact Colorado Springs. And granted, I live in a very big town. Mm-hmm. But also like there are some really good feelings when my friend who's a missionary and she is 100% sponsored by salary, like it's people donating to her, like I can be able to do that. And so like I don't think like let me rephrase that. I don't know if I will ever have 1 million followers, but I know I'll write a book. I know that I will always teach sales. I know that the money that I will make will continue to contribute to other people's lives, because that's the cool thing about like there's infinite amounts of money that can be made. And for me, I think it's also just like the impact that may not be the world is also just being available to my friends and family. Like that is truly losing a sibling and then working all the time and missing everyone's birthdays, to be able to say like, there's so many times my best friends called me and been like, I need you right now. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let me just like deek, like, let me head over there. It may not be like there were seasons I would come over every Tuesday. So she just had someone to hang out with. But I think a lot of people forget too, that like your impact, just impacting like this much, like Mother Teresa said, it starts at home. And then she flew around on a jet plane and changed the world. But remember, it started at home.
It does. It starts at you. It starts with you, babe.
It always does. And I think that's the cool thing. And like for me, I mean, if you would have sat me down 5 years ago and been like, here's where you're at, I would have been like, I don't know, girly pop. Like, are you me? Like, how do we know?
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. Tell us where we can find you.
Instagram, my website, the Salesy Podcast. I'm always hanging out over there. And if you're someone who wants to learn sales psychology, buyer psychology, like I mentioned, there is the whole course that goes through it. And I've actually been, as I've been in this like little hermit hole, been kind of tinkering and playing with it a little bit more because, you know, as things grow and change, it's nice to update. So that is probably going to be your best bet. It is self-study. It is not an actual container. The reason why I do it self-study is it pairs well with other stuff. And it's one of those things you take the information and blend it. It's not really like it's not like a coaching, like I could run it as a coaching pro, but it's not a coaching pro. It would be hard.
Yeah. So. I love it. We'll put it in the show notes so you guys can find all of Meghan's stuff. But my dear, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Guys, until next time, see you soon.
Thank you.